All right, I want to welcome everybody to our live session for DES 114, Print Production and Color Theory. I am your graphic arts instructor, Shannon McNamara, and we are in week 3. Yeah, I had to think for a second before I opened up my slideshow tonight. I was like, we're in week 3 already? How did that happen? But we've made it into week 3. We're actually kind of over the hump of our class, and we're coming down the other side of the mountain at this point. So just a reminder for everyone on my telephone hours, they are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Mountain Time to 4 p.m. Mountain Time. Best point of contact for me is email, and if some of you may have noticed, if you email me, I'm pretty quick to get a response to you, unless if it's later at night or overnight. I try to I do wrap up work a little bit early, and if I don't notice the email on my cell phone, I will get back to you the next day. But I'm pretty quick to get back to everyone. So email's really the best point of contact for me. And just be aware, I am in Eastern Standard Time Zone. So if you are trying to contact me, just, you might have to do a time zone conversion. So if you email me at 8 o'clock on the West Coast, it's 11 p.m. here. So, chances are good I won't get it until the next morning, and I will get back to you. Our agenda for today, I have a couple of announcements I'm going to go over, and then we're going to go over the assignment for week 3 and the assessment for week 3. I also have, as part of the slideshow today, I have a lot of slides on the production process. If we finish our demo for the assignment and the assessment, and there's a good chance that we're not going to finish that demo or we're not going to get to the point where we finish the demo and we can go back in and go over all of the slides. It's very rare on this week because there's a lot to the assignment and the assessment. I will go over those slides, but I will post the slideshow with the live session video in the announcements so you can read up on the production process. It's a lot of good information for you. So I'll jump over into the announcements. So we have our learning coach flyer for week 3. Again, Christy Paulson is our learning coach. Her schedule for this week is Wednesday, 12 to 7 p.m., Thursday, 12 to 5 p.m., and Friday, 1 to 4 p.m. And all of her times are Mountain Standard Time. So you can log in and see her. Some of you may receive emails from me or from her. If I think that you could use some extra help in the course, I do send her a list and I ask her to contact people and see if she could offer you some help. So if you receive an email from her or if you receive an email from me, please make sure that you're getting back to us. We're both here to try to help you out. Between her and I, you have pretty much Monday through Friday coverage this week. We have the live session tonight. We have the multi-session tomorrow. And then she has hours Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So, there's definitely somebody available between her or I Monday through Friday of this week. So if you do need the extra help, please make sure that you are getting in there and seeing either her or coming to the multi-session tomorrow. And again, there is a list of multi-sessions in the announcements. You'll have to scroll back through to the first week, but there is a list for all of the instructors when their multi-sessions are. It's the 100 level multi-session schedule for Mod 8. So you can double check the PDF and see when someone is available. So if you want to go to a multi-session, if you want to go visit the learning coaches, if you want to see Christy, you have a lot of options, which is awesome. So definitely make the most of what is available to you. And I apologize for my allergies tonight. You never know if I took a Sudafed today, but it's definitely my allergies have been horrible the last couple of weeks. So I do apologize if I sound all stuffed up and it's hard to Understand me. All right, so let's talk again about due dates. All of your assignments and assessments are due by Saturday at midnight for full credit. Remember, communication is key with me, so make sure if you are going to be late, send me an email ahead of time. This can save you missed points. Also, a reminder that the week 4 assignments cannot be turned in late. I like to say the course will turn into a pumpkin and you will not be able to get in and submit your assignments. So make sure that you are turning in all of your work on time, but especially your work for week 4. And also your original discussion post is due by Wednesday at midnight. And then you need to respond to 2 of your fellow students by Saturday at midnight and post on 2 different days. And a reminder that late discussion posts will not be accepted past the Saturday deadline for that week. After that Saturday deadline, that discussion has come and gone and people have moved on to the next week's discussion. Which, let's take a look at our discussion for week 3. We are going to be discussing vector and raster files. This is extremely important, understanding the difference between vector and raster files. So please make sure that you are reading over the prompt, that you are understanding the difference between the 2 image types. I can't express this enough, understanding when to use each type of image. This is going to make or break you in your career. Understanding the difference between vector and raster images. So please make sure that you're reading over the entire background. Please make sure that you are reading over the prompt, that you're addressing the 3 questions that are in the prompt. Make sure that your post has at least 1 APA citation, and make sure that your follow-up posts are relevant when you are addressing your fellow students. So, and it would be great to put some images with your post this week so you can kind of show, what it is that you're discussing. It kind of lends some credibility and it shows that you understand, what certain file type works with what and why. It'll be helpful to you to kind of look up examples and see why certain file types are used and in one aspect as opposed to another. Like I can tell you, if you are creating a logo, you will always create a logo vector, and that's because it's scalable. So you can find some examples of some logos, and you could even show something zoomed in on a vector file and as opposed to zoomed in on a raster file. So there's a lot of great examples out there on the web to kind of show you the differences between the file types and why you use certain ones. So again, really important discussion for this week. All right, and a reminder about our course schedule. Our live sessions are on Monday from 4 to 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and our multi-session is on Tuesdays from 4 to 6 p.m. Mountain Time. So those multi-sessions are open for students to come in with any assignment problems, questions, or one-on-one tutoring. This definitely gives you ample time to get the assignments done during the week. That's why I host the live sessions and the multi-sessions at the beginning of the week. If you do need any outside help, the Student Success Center is open with tutoring available and no appointment is necessary. And I'm just going to mute myself for just 1 second so I can blow my nose and maybe you'll be able to understand me a little bit better. Hold on. Yeesh. All right. So hopefully that helps. I apologize for my awful, awful allergies. All right. So again, these are the slides that we can go over later if we have time, but I will definitely post them for you to read all about the printing process. There's information on folding, different types of folds, what pagination, imposition, and signatures are, bleeds and trim, lots of good information here. Many people, when they have their first graphic design job, they end up working in print. At least that was true for me and many of my friends. So it's really important to understand the printing process because that's what you're going to be doing. And almost, even if you work for a company and you're making web graphics and things of that nature, there's going to come a time where somebody's probably going to need something for print. So it's really best that you understand, the whole process. So that way you're setting up your files correctly, you're sending them to the printer correctly, and you're doing it right the first time, especially if you do freelance work. If you send a file to the printer incorrectly, that can be money out of your pocket. And I can tell you, it's happened to me. It happens to the best of us, but if it costs you money, it'll only ever happen once. And you'll definitely, make sure that it doesn't happen again. But, it's always best to not have it happen the first time. All right. So we are going to be making for our assignment for this week, a trifold brochure. So I'm going to go over into the assignment, and I have some trifolds. Oh, nice. That's awesome. My response is to something in the chat for those of you at home wondering what I'm so excited about. Yeah, an internship at a print shop is awesome. You're going to learn a ton, and honestly, the best way to learn is by doing it and, seeing everything in action, and it just gives you more of an understanding of why things need to be done a certain way. And, it's really hands-on, seeing the whole process. So I think that'll be really awesome for you. So congrats. And I hope you enjoy it. I would love to go back to working at a print shop. Oh, exactly. You'll run into that a lot. Recreation of logos. My husband and I both worked for a company that did direct mail, and I can't tell you how many times a client came in with their logo and they only have it on their business card, and it's about 1 inch by 1 inch, and they want the logo on a printed piece that's going to be, 8 inches by 10 inches. And you're trying to explain to them, well, we're going to have to recreate that logo then, because if you scan it and you blow it up, it's going to get very pixelated and it's not going to look good. So that goes back to, having your logos as a vector file as opposed to a scan, which would be, pixels. So it all comes full circle. Believe me, if you work at a print shop, there will be more times than not that somebody's going to come in and not have their original logo. It happens more than you would think. Okay, so let's take a look at our objectives and our background for our assignment. And this is a great assignment. I just want to let you know. I can't tell you how many times in my career I have designed a trifold brochure, because it's just one of those things where I was probably for a while designing 10 of them every single week. And I worked at that job for almost 10 years. So, thousands and thousands of trifold brochures have passed through my inbox at my old job. It's something that you will probably have to design at some point or another if you design print. I think of, all of the different menus you've probably seen. Almost all menus are trifold. So it kind of gives you an idea of, if you're doing print, how often you will see that. You've seen many a menu, I'm sure, in your life. And I have a lot of examples that we're going to go over that I can show you. So our background is, whether you meet the mechanical specifications on your brochure will make or break your project. This is so true. There are several measurements to keep in mind when laying out your brochure this week. The terms that follow are typically used when you go to a printer for a quote. It is important to understand what they mean and where they are in your layout program. And our layout program is going to be InDesign this week. So the flat size of the brochure is the finished size of the page after it is trimmed but before it is folded. This is the document size of your layout, generally found in File, New File, when you're creating a project. The finished size, this is the size of the brochure once it is folded. This size is given to the printer when the brochure is being quoted and when it is being printed to ensure that it is folded correctly. It is also important to specify how to fold the brochure, which is the front panel, what should be on the back, and so on. Several folds are available, and they vary depending on the number of panels and folds in your brochure. For example, a Z fold is where the paper is folded, where it looks like a Z when it is folded. A barrel fold is when the right side is folded inward first and the left panel is folded over it. And it's important to work closely with the printer to ensure that your brochure is folded in the way that you have envisioned when creating the layout. Bleed. The bleed is where we extend the color or image beyond the finished size to ensure that the brochure does not have a white rim around where color or an image should be. So we put a bleed in our poster. So that's going to be the same thing. We'll be doing the same thing with our brochure for this week. A typical bleed is 1/8 of an inch, but it does vary based on the paper, press, and project. So you would want to consult your printer on every project to ensure that your bleed is set correctly. Margins. Most of you will be familiar with margins from your word processing programs. In the world of graphic design, margins are used for something a little bit different. There is something called a live area within our projects. The live area is the space that a vendor deems safe for vital information. So that vital information, that would be your text, your logo, anything that you do not want, no matter what, to be cut, needs to stay within your live area. Presses and people are not perfect. I can't tell you how many times. I have watched people on the press and I have watched people at the cutting machines who aren't really paying attention while they are doing their job. And it's so easy for important information, especially when it gets to the cutter, to be cut off if it's not within that live area. And you can't go back to your printer if it's been cut and it was outside of the live area and tell them like, hey, I want this to be reprinted on your dime because you cut off my text and the text is running outside the live area. So that's just something to keep in mind. Like if it is inside of the live area and they cut it by accident, they will reprint your job. If it's outside of that live area, and believe me, they will go back to your files. I can't tell you how many times that we went back to files to say, hey, you know what? That's the way they set it up when they sent it to us. So they set it up outside the live area and we didn't reprint the job. So that's something that you really need to be aware of. A vendor will guarantee that any information that is held within the live area will be present in the final output, or they will redo it. Thus, in the world of graphic design, margins are often set to the live area or a comfortable distance in from the edge of the project, whichever is greater. Then you have your gutter. A gutter can be several things. It's the space between two pages in a magazine spread. So think of a magazine that you have open, to the middle of the magazine where those pages meet at that seam. That can be a gutter. And then the space between two columns is also a gutter. So we're going to be setting up columns in our trifold, and that will be our gutter. So the space between the panels of our brochure is also referred to as a gutter. So in a brochure design, how do you know how big to make the gutters between the panels? It's actually pretty simple. Take the size of your left and right margin and then double it. So for example, if you set your margin to 0.375 on the left and the right, a very comfortable margin for your brochure would be, or a very comfortable gutter would be 0.75. That's awesome. That's that's a really cool project. Setting up a magazine spread. Yeah, and I'm sure you had to think about the gutter because if your pages got too close, you wouldn't be able to read that text after you put it together. So that gutter ensures that the entire panel is centered, and it also allows for slight differences in finished panel size due to paperweights. So once you have built the brochure to spec, your work is not complete if the printer does not get the proper files in the proper manner. They will not be able to complete your job. And the proper files would be a packaged InDesign file with a press-ready PDF. So that's a PDF that shows your crop marks, your bleeds, and it's all set up so that way the printer can see exactly how you want it to go to print. So here's our prompt. And there's a lot of information in this. And that's why I'm doing such an extensive demo for you today, is because there's a lot going on in this assignment. So brochures can be very powerful marketing tools if handled in the correct way. And I'm going to show you some brochures that I have in my house that were handled in the correct way and some that were not. It is important that your approach to the brochure maintains any corporate branding that has been established while making an impression on the target audience. Here are a few brochure design tips to help you to begin your project. Know who your target audience is. What is their age? What is their income? What role do they have in the family? Are they primarily male or female? What is important to them? Spend considerable time designing the cover of your brochure. This is so important. It is the reason a potential client will pick it up or pass it by. I can't express that enough. That is such a good point. Create a cohesive visual roadmap through your brochure, making it easy to follow and understand by using properly sized gutters, consistent margins, and a well thought out folding pattern. Put first things first. Lead with strength, then give details. Use style sheets to maintain consistency within the type. Also very important. Remember, there should be no more than 3 sizes and 2 fonts used in your brochure. Keep your colors consistent and few, no more than 2 or 3 colors total. And think about it. You have a 3-color logo. Those are the colors that I would draw from, is that 3-color logo. Employ the big 4 design principles to create focal points, hierarchy, and unity within your design. So go back to that discussion from week 2. Those are your big 4 design principles. Remember that, the crap principles of design. Utilize a grid system to give you strong structure upon which to build. And then you must incorporate the following. At least 3 photos. So we're going to download our approved photos. I'm going to do that right now. Your final color, logo, and palette, paragraph styles, all of the text from this Aqua text doc file, and don't type out the text. Copy and paste it from the doc file. That way you are not going to have any spelling errors that will be on you if you are typing out your copy. If you are given copy from a client, always use the copy that is provided from that client. That's another thing that I can't express enough. And there will be times that clients aren't going to type out the copy for you. I can't tell you how many scans or photocopies of a Chinese food menu I have received where I need to type out every single item. Do you know how happy I would be if somebody gave me that in a doc file? So if you are given a Word file or a doc file or an email with your copy, use it. It's not often that you have somebody who goes that extra mile and types out everything that you need. All right, so our project specifications, we're going to be using InDesign. We need to have a final flat size of 11.875 by 9. So 2 sides, and then the folds will be 4 by 9. Margins 0.325, bleed size 0.125. Our color space is CMYK. So again, please review this week's readings and videos for a demonstration on how to set this up correctly using 6 separate pages for the panels. I am not going to set it up this way for you. I'm going to show you a far easier way to set it up. If you want to watch the extra videos and set it up as 6 separate pages for the panels and then put that all together, that is fine. But I'm going to show you a much simpler way to put this together that will probably make your life a little bit easier. I just find doing it as 6 separate pages to be overly complex. If you have done it that way, that is fine, but I am going to show you a much simpler way to set this up. And I'll show you, that's why I'm going to turn on my camera after I go over this and show you some examples, so that way it'll make a little bit more sense to you too. And then here are our pre-press requirements. All of your images need to be converted to CMYK. All of your images need to be placed at correct resolution for print. That's 300 ppi. Images not scaled below 80. Images should not be scaled below 80% or higher than 120%. All spot colors need to be converted to CMYK. Bleeds need to be correctly implemented. Margins and gutters need to be properly positioned, and your document needs to be packaged for print. Then you're going to name your file, DES11473, your first and last name, .indd. You're going to export that InDesign file to a press quality PDF. Same thing we did last week with your bleed and crop marks present on the PDF. And again, that'll be a different setting than just your regular print quality setting. Then you need to package that InDesign file, place that PDF in the package folder, and then upload it as a zip file. So best practices, keep all your native files you use to create this brochure for possible revisions after this course has ended, because you are going to need them for your portfolio or your capstone classes. And this is really put time into this. This assignment is a awesome portfolio piece to go on your Behance page. So really take the time with this assignment this week and put your all into this assignment. If you have a stellar finished piece, it is going to be a great portfolio piece that you can show prospective employers. Employers love seeing that you can do brochures. So make sure that you have, you really take the time this week to do this correctly. All right. And then after you are done, go over the rubric, make sure everything looks good. I will have a checklist that I will be going over that will have all of these specifications and pre-press requirements and submission requirements that I will be checking off on all of your brochures. So go over everything and make a little checklist for yourself to make sure that you've done everything that you need to do. All right, let me turn on my camera for a second. Okay, so I wanted to go over, I have a couple of trifold examples that I'm going to go over today. Some of them, like it says in the prompt, if I just go back there for a second, I'm going to go over a brochure that does not have a cohesive visual roadmap, and I'm going to go over a brochure that does have a cohesive visual roadmap, and I will show you why it is important that the roadmap of your brochure makes sense. And then I'll also show you one that has a couple of examples that have some good cover design and a couple of examples that just really miss the mark on the cover design. So, and then I'll also show you one that that is not set up for a bleed, and it clearly should be set up for a bleed, and what ends up happening if you don't set it up correctly. And the not so great brochure is the same one. So it has it literally everything that could go wrong with it was actually done wrong with it. So let me show you some good examples first, because I feel like we'll start on a high note, we'll go down to the bad brochure, and then we'll end on a high note. That's probably the best way to do this. So I have 3 good examples, and these are just menus that have come to my house that I picked up from restaurants in my area, and I have just taken them and thrown them into a drawer, basically, in my kitchen. So every time I teach this course, I go and I raid the menu drawer, and I find some good examples and I find some bad examples, and I take my glasses off because I can't even glare at myself. All right. Here's a good example. It is for a Mexican food restaurant near my house, and nice big logo right off the bat on the front, good colors, the phone number nice and big, because what do I want to know if I have a takeout menu? I want to know your number so that way I can call you. I don't want to go searching for it. I want to see your name nice and big, so when I'm going through my huge drawer of menus in my kitchen, and you know, my child is screaming in the background, and my husband's like, what did we say we were gonna have? Well, what do you want? I want to make sure that I can find the Mexican food restaurant right off the bat. So, you know, logo nice and big, bright color scheme, their your website nice and big on the front, so that way, if I don't know if I need to visit it, I guess I already have your menu, but sometimes if I want to look at extra pictures or if I want to read some reviews, good to have, and your phone number, and your address, all of your pertinent information right there on that front panel for me. The next thing that I will notice is if I turn it over, I have a list of menu items, and it went right to quesadillas. There's chimichangas, burritos, enchiladas, some house specialties, and then a couple of your combo plates. So just a couple of key items that are probably this restaurant's best sellers right there on the back for me to flip over and see. So I don't need to even go digging into the menu to see what their best sellers are. And then here's where the roadmap comes in. Is I flip it over and I see some of those best sellers right there. And then I turn it, I open it, and I open up right to appetizers. So I go right to the appetizers, which makes sense because I might want to order an appetizer before I order my meal. And then I'm moving on to, you know, salads. Again, appetizers and salads kind of go together. And then straight across, I have pork dishes, steak dishes, and chicken dishes. So some of the main dishes that you have, and then lunch specials. I open it up to the middle, and now I have, you know, vegetarian dishes. Again, some of the quesadillas. I have the full thing of quesadillas, full thing of combinations, enchiladas, chimichangas, all the burritos, all the tacos. So it makes sense. There's a logical order and a logical roadmap as I'm looking at this menu. The same thing can go for this 10 Cousins menu. So, you know, they're a pizza place, like a brick oven place. So again, right there, logo up at the top, and I've got like some flames because they have a brick oven, so it all kind of goes together, and the top kind of looks like an oven. Sample menu, so I can see right there that this is a sample menu. Maybe there's more items that they have for specials, or maybe when I call, I can ask them what their specials are. And it's kind of letting me know, like, hey, we do have more stuff, you should ask. Again, phone number right there, address, hours, and online menu. So I know that maybe there's more on their online menu if I go check. And then it's also telling me that they have a Facebook page, which I can go to, and they probably list specials there. So I turn it to the back again, and for this menu, what they've done on the back panel is they told me a little bit about them. So there's a little bit of a write-up about the restaurant on the back panel, no menu items, but I know that all of the menu items are going to be on the inside, so I can kind of flip back and forth and know a little bit about the place. You know, that they're a family-owned restaurant. They have beer, wine, and mixed specialty drinks. They have t-shirts, I guess. I can buy a t-shirt with their logo on it, and that their suggestions are welcome with their email. So pretty cool. Now when I open it up again, I have my starters, my salads, and then I see right across, because I haven't opened it up completely, so I need to take into consideration what the inside of that back panel looks like. I have also enjoyed dining and entertainment, and then a little bit more about other places in the area, because they're all owned by the same guy, so he puts a little blurb about his other restaurants. And then, you know, stay with us if you're visiting. This town is a beach town, so you know, a little bit of a write-up about the hotels in the area, which would be really helpful to people who are visiting from out of town. I open it up again, and here's all their brick oven pizzas right in the center, and sandwiches and more, and then their entrees. So again, it's only a sample menu, but it gives me a lot of information about the town. It tells me about 2 other restaurants, which are all owned by the same guy. So, you know, it's a really well thought out design for their menu. Which then brings me to the bad menu, which really doesn't make any sense. And I do have another good menu that has some good photos that I'll show you after. That'll be my ending on a high note. So This menu, they have really good food there. I will say this, but every time I look at their menu, I really think that they need to speak with a graphic designer, because I don't think, if somebody saw this brochure all by itself, or on, those holders that they have at places where they have all the brochures going across, and there's probably like hundreds of different brochures all together, and you're standing there at like the town center, or they have them at rest stops on the highway. Are you going to grab this menu, or are you going to grab this menu if you see them both side by side? I can't even tell what this is if I see this brochure with 50 other brochures. All Friends Smokehouse. Okay, but here, Nick's Pizza with a big picture of pizza. As I'm scanning right away, I know that this is a restaurant. So I'm going to grab this. So this is where the design of your cover really matters, because you're not telling me anything about yourself. You don't have a logo, number one. I'm hoping you can see it okay. I know the light in here is kind of bad. Actually, let me see if I have this. I'm going to slide down. There we go. All right. So you don't have a logo, number one. You don't have any pictures on the front of this, number two. It's not really spaced very well, the cover. It looks like you might have made it in Microsoft Word. Like this is way, the name is way far up at the top. I know that this is showing up backwards. And then we have all the space down here at the bottom. Clearly not set up with a bleed. It was just printed off of a home printer. And, it just doesn't show me that it was professionally done. So what does it say about your food? Randomly enough, they have amazing food. So they're really doing themselves a disservice by having such a bad menu. Because if it's between, this place, this place, this place, and this place, are all of these places are within 3 miles of each other. So if I've never been to any of these 4 places, presentation is everything. So front cover tells me All Friends Smokehouse. It tells me a little bit about it. It does have their phone number. It does have their hours of operation. Their website's kind of small. It says that there's beer and wine available, but at this point, everything's kind of the same font size, so nothing is really standing out to me where I'm like, oh, they have this. My eyes, I've already stopped looking. So on the back, they have soup, which is one soup that they have, and it's actually a chili, and then they have a house soup. Then they have their kids menu and their sides. So you're not really telling me anything about your Texas style barbecue on the back. So I'm flipping it over, and I see that you have soup, and for kids you have a burger, mac and cheese, and a hot dog. And then for your sides, I don't really care about your sides because I don't really know anything about your barbecue at this point. So let me open it then. All right, so the first thing I see when I open it on this panel, like the first panel I'm going to look at, is desserts. Desserts come at the end of my meal. I'm not thinking about dessert yet. Why are the 3 desserts that you offer the first thing that I'm going to see? That really doesn't make any sense. Then you have sandwiches. Okay. Then we have salads. But I still haven't gotten to your barbecue, which is, you're called All Friends Smokehouse, and you have Texas style barbecue. And we haven't even gotten to that yet. Next, I'm going to open up. All right, so we've got burgers. Again, not barbecue. Hot dogs. And then finally, I get to barbecue meals. Buried down in the center panel at the bottom of the page. And then it starts to wrap around into this panel. So it's not even all together. And then I have Southern fried steak and chicken, ribs, combo platters, and then party platters. So, and then if I go on the inside panel, I have, here's my appetizers, my starters are over there, which should probably be over here because I want to start with my starters, move on to my entrees, and then, you know, think about dessert at the end. So literally the last thing that I'm going to see is the first thing I should see. And then the first thing I see is the last thing I should see. And then the thing that you're known for, which is your barbecue, is so buried in the menu that I can't find it without taking, you know, 5 or 10 minutes to look through and read through all of the items until I finally get to the center panel, which is literally when your eyes follow a certain line, the center bottom panel is literally the last place you're going to look. So that is not a logical progression through a brochure. And, you know, again, if I've never been there, I might not go there. And honestly, I almost didn't go there. As a graphic designer, I really almost did not go there for dinner because I saw their menu. The only reason I did end up going was I happened to be on Facebook, and a place that I follow on Facebook had a write-up about them, and they had done a video on them, and they showed the food, and the food looked really good. So I said to my husband, well, why don't we try it? What do we have to lose? If it's not that great, we won't go back. And it was good. But based on their menu, I wouldn't have done that. And even when we got there, they hand you this menu. So this is a menu that they're even handing out inside of the restaurant. And we sat there for 5 minutes trying to find where the barbecue was. And I finally said to him, I said, you know, I saw your video and I know you have barbecue chicken, but I cannot find it on your menu. So part of me, you know, I was like, oh, is the owner here tonight? Like, you know, I wanted to kind of talk to them about redesigning their menu, and he wasn't there. And the waitress that we had the first time we went there actually was kind of awful. But that's a whole other story. So that goes to show you that, you know, you could potentially be losing clients or customers for your client if you do not set up their trifold correctly. That's why it's so, so important. So again, ending on a high note, because I said I would end on a high note. This is another good menu. The pizza place, nice picture at the front. Here's their logo, Nick's Pizza. They have 2 phone numbers, their address. They have a special on Tuesdays, take 10% off any order, and their hours. All pertinent information right there. On the back, some other really nice big pictures of their food. And then, yes, we have thin crust pizza, so if you want that. And then they take credit cards. I always want to know that because a lot of places, for some reason, still don't take credit cards. Open it up again. I have some nice big pictures right here. I have pizzas, calzones, toppings going with it, pasta, salad, side orders, and then hot oven wraps. And then I've got some homemade soups and desserts, and they put some nice pictures with it. And the fact that they actually put pictures with their soup, desserts, and coffees are typically, I probably wouldn't think about ordering soup and dessert from a pizza place, but man, that looks really good. So there's a good chance now you've enticed me with this great image that you're going to upsell me. So these are all things that you can do as a graphic designer for your clients when you really think out the layout of your trifold. And you may have noticed that each of these trifolds are folded in a certain way. So I'm going to just show you. This one's probably the easiest to show you. Each one is folded as a barrel fold. This is a barrel fold. So I'm going to open this up as an 8.5 by 11. So this is your 8.5 by 11. You have your 3 panels. This is side 1 of your 8.5 by 11, and it's obviously set up as a landscape side. This is side 2 of your 8.5 by 11. And this is going to be, it's a little bit backwards. So if I am looking at this like this is probably the easiest way to show it to you where it doesn't look backwards. This is my right-hand side, okay? This is my center. This is my left-hand side. When I show it this way, it doesn't look right. Right-hand panel is your front cover. left-hand panel is the inside of it. So when I open it, here is your right-hand panel. Here's my left-hand panel. The back of the brochure is the center. I hope that makes sense. So let me open it up for you again. So right-hand panel, center panel, left panel, front cover, back of the brochure, inside of the fold. That's how you have it set up. And I'll go over this in InDesign, but sometimes it's easier to find yourself a menu that is folded with a barrel fold. So that means you open it up and you have this panel on the inside. A Z fold is set up like this. Like this. It would go like a Z when you open it. A barrel fold opens like a book and then opens up again. So, because it's so hard to like kind of get it the first time. Right-hand panel, center panel, left panel, front cover, back of your brochure, what you see when you flip it back and forth, inside. The side 2 is way easier. Side 2 is literally left, center, right. It just goes in order, like a book. Left, center, right. Boom, wicked easy. It's only side 1 that's a little bit difficult to work with. So that's how we're going to be setting it up. I'm going to show you how to set up a barrel fold because you'll see that's what most people use is a barrel fold when they are having things printed. Most printers use a barrel fold. So I hope that that's kind of helpful. I would get out a menu that you have, open it like a barrel fold, or refold it like a barrel fold if it doesn't have a barrel fold, and you can write on the, on each one, like write in a Sharpie, front cover, back, inside fold, and then kind of look at the way it's set up and set up your InDesign file the same exact way. It will really help it, in your head to make more sense. I've had to do this so many times. Like I've made so many brochures, and sometimes like if it's first thing in the morning or if I've had a really long day, I would have to get out my example and I'd be like, hold on, let me take a look at this. So it really does help to do that. So I'm going to close out my camera and we'll get into InDesign and we'll make our brochures, our whatchamacallit, our brochures. All right. So we're going to start up InDesign. And I already downloaded my text document and I downloaded my photos, and I'm going to need to make my photos CMYK. So again, important to keep all of your files together. I'm going to go to my Mod 8 folder. I'm going to go to week 3. I haven't version that I made last time I taught the class. I forgot to move it over. Assessment, week 3. There we go. So this is my assignment. I always keep everything together for the weeks. I need to have that text document in there and that kayak. So kayak images. Let me open that up. And you will see, last time I taught this, they did not have all of these images. You guys get more images this time, so this is great. You guys have some great images in here. The last time I taught it, you'll see how small these images are. There was only small images, so I kind of had to give people a pass because the images that they uploaded were really small, and it was kind of a bummer. So I would suggest using images from this brochure images 1 through 7. They are much higher DPI. I'm not even you can definitely see with the size, and then maybe this one because it's at least a meg, the kayak 5. That's a good one. So I'm not even going to bother with kayak 1 through 4 or 6 and 7. I'm not even going to bother. They're low res, so I'm just going to leave them there. And I'm going to open up these ones in Photoshop, and I'm going to make them CMYK and change the resolution. So going back into the assignment, I need to use at least 3 photos. So that means I can use more than 3, but I have to have at least 3 photos on my brochure. So keep that in mind. You know, be aware of the verbiage being used in the assignment. All right, so you'll notice each of these is RGB, so I need to make them CMYK, and I'm probably going to have to change the DPI. So I'm going to start with this one. We go to image mode, CMYK, hit OK, and I'm going to do image size. Unclick resample image. Oh, and it's already 300 DPI, so I can just hit OK. And I'm just going to save it over itself in that folder. Close that one out. I'm going to do this for all of them. So CMYK. Double check my image size. This one's 300 as well. So one thing is done for you. It's always nice when one thing's done for you. Okay. Do not assume that all of them will be 300 DPI though. 300. Save. These images are fun. You guys lucked out this time. Save. This one's a little bit smaller than the others. This one's about 4 inches high, so you know, you might find a good use for it, but just be aware it is smaller than the other ones. And ooh, it's only 180. So when I make this 300 DPI, again, uncheck resample image first, that brings us down to 2.5 inches. I'm not even going to bother using this one. I'm just going to close it out. I'm not going to save it, so that way I remember. So I'm only going to use the ones called brochure images. You know, why bother with low-res images? You know, why waste my time? That's a nice big one too. I want to go kayaking now. These people look like they're having a good time. I have not had a chance to this summer. I actually do have a kayak, and I have not gotten out to use it. All right, last one. Okay, this one's not a very colorful image, and he's a little blurry. But, you know, hey, if you have a use for it, there it is. All right. So I've got my images. I'm going to open up my text file, so I have that ready to go. And you'll notice that they laid out the text for you, what goes where. Front cover needs to have the logo, Kayak Tours Sales and Services, and then on either the front or the back cover. So again, by front or back cover, turn myself back on. What they mean is front cover or back cover, so whichever way you turn it, that's that information. Other required copy, tour frequently asked questions. Should I reserve a kayak? These are the frequently asked questions. Here's what I would do when you get into your doc file. You can tell that some of this text is definitely a headline and some of this text is definitely body copy. So in your doc file, try to point that out. It will make it easier when you're copying and pasting things into InDesign to keep you organized with your body copy. So let's try to figure out what headlines there are. Frequently asked questions, definitely a headline. So I'm going to change that. And I'm just going to use the regular old styles in Microsoft Word right now. And then the question is, what should I bring on my kayak adventure? I'm going to make that bold. So I know like each of the questions, you know, should probably stand out from the answer. There we go. Then I have custom adventures. So this seems like a headline. And then here's a little write-up about the adventures. And then these are the 3 adventures that go, these are their 3 custom adventures. The kayak camping adventure, the full moon paddle adventure, and the private adventure tour. So again, when you're keeping, you know, your certain copy together, all of this should stay together. Then about us, headline. And then here's their little about section. And then another one, a tour package for every taste. All right, headline. And here are their tours, a guided wildlife tour, an ocean adventure tour, a dolphin watching, and a whale watching tour. So those are their tours. So you can see this headlines, copy, headline copy, headline copy, and headline copy. It keeps like copy together when you do this, and then just, you know, kind of save your doc file so that way, you know, if you accidentally close it or something, it's all together. That'll keep everything in an order, and it will create some hierarchy in your body copy. So, you know, definitely get yourself all set up to understand like how you're going to visually lay this out before you get into InDesign. It'll make it a lot easier for you. All right, let's go back into Chrome. So in InDesign, I need to have a final flat size of 11.875 by 9 landscape format. It needs to be 2-sided, and it folds to a 4 by 9. So I have margins and bleeds, and it needs to be CMYK. These are all the things that I need to set up my InDesign file as. So I'm going to go into InDesign. I'm going to do new. Needs to be a custom size, and just so you don't mess up, I'm going to copy and paste the size that I need by 9. I need to have 2 pages. I do not want facing pages, so I'm going to uncheck that. I'm going to start at page 1. I need to have, this is where you're going to change. I need to have 3 columns because my trifold has 3 panels to it. My gutter is going to be, there used to be, did they change this? There used to be a gutter. Oh, it does say it. It says it up here. Where did I read that? Ah, here it is. All right. So the gutter needs to be 0.75. They did the math for you up top. My margin needs to be 0.325. 0.325 on all sides, and I need to have a bleed. So my bleed is 0.125. It's already set up for that, and slug is just leave it as is. So let me double check my doing 11.875. It's definitely going to be landscape by 9, 2 pages. Start at page 1. I don't want facing pages because that'll be kind of confusing to look at. 3 columns with a gutter of 0.75, my margins of 0.325 on all sides, and my bleed is 0.125. So we're going to create this. Create this bad boy, and we'll see. So as you can see, here's my 3 columns for side 1 and my 3 columns for side 2. So this is easier than making 6 pages in my mind. And you can see that each this is your live session. Your live session, yeah. This is your live area right here. This is the trim area, and this is your bleed. So anything that's going to be cut will extend to this red line. Anything you want not cut should be within this margin, and any important information should be within these margins that you have created. So be aware of your different areas in your InDesign file. All right. So again, remember how I showed you the example. I'm gonna label right now my panels because it's going to make my life easier. Front. I'm going to label them outside of the design area. Back panel. Inside fold of my barrel. Copy this. Side 2 literally goes left, center, right. Super simple. Little bit more confusing. So front, back panel, inside fold. That's what you need to be aware of. That's what's going on. So the left side is the back side of the cover. Yes. All right, yes. So on side 2, this panel right here on the opposite side is the front cover. On this panel right here on the opposite side is the back of the folded piece. And on this panel right here is the inside of that fold when you open up that fold. Does that make sense? Okay, awesome. I know, like, this is why I do so many visuals with this assignment, because the first time that you design this, it can be really, really confusing. So I like to do a lot of show and tell with this assignment, with this demo. All right. So what I want to do is I want to start adding in my information. Now, it kind of says what I need, but you'll notice one thing that's not really pointed out to you that you do need to add is you need to add your final color logo to your brochure. So that would go, probably should be on your front panel. If you wanted to repeat it smaller somewhere, which a lot of people do like to do, I would repeat it somewhere small on the back. So when they front back to, back and forth between the front and the back, your logo is there. They definitely know the name of your company. That's really good for branding. It's really good for your marketing. So something to think about when you're trying to set this up. I like to bring my text over first and not so much lay it out, but just kind of put things where they need to be in text boxes. So that way I have a visual of like, okay, like I have this much text on this panel. I have this much text on this panel. Like how can I lay this out? So that's what I'm going to do first. So on my front cover, I know I need my logo, but I also need this verbiage for kayak tour, sales, and service. So I'm going to go over into InDesign. I'm going to just draw a text box and plop that in. I'm not even thinking about fonts right now. I'm just literally plopping in my information. This can go on the front or the back. I don't know where it's going to go yet, but I'm going to make a new text box for it. And just put the information by itself in its own text box. So that way, if I need it over here, I can move it over here. If not, I can keep it over there. Keeping like things together. And then I'm also going to make just a quick text box that says logo. Just so that way I don't forget to add my logo. Like, hey, my logo needs to go on the front too. There we go. Next, I have my frequently asked questions. So I need to think about like what is the most important thing to somebody where they flip it over and I want them to know that immediately. And it might be the about us. They see what I am for a company, and when they flip over and they look at the back of my brochure, maybe I want them to know about the about us. So I'm gonna put that as my back panel right now. And then out of all of the information that's left, I have custom adventures, a tour package for every taste, and all of that verbiage. And then I have frequently asked questions. So again, thinking about what goes together. I should probably keep all of my adventures together. So, and everything, you know, that my company does. So I'm going to keep custom adventures together and a tour package for every taste together, which then leaves tour frequently asked questions as kind of the odd man out. And it really is probably on the hierarchy of information, kind of like my least important information. So I'm going to grab my frequently asked questions and all of the answers, and I'm going to put it on this inside fold panel because I just don't feel like that's like the most important information that there is. And this is probably, the inside fold is probably the least important panel, honestly. Now, to keep all of my my adventures and my packages together, I'm going to put them all on side 2, going in order. So let me grab custom adventures, draw a text box, and I'm not even thinking about what panel is going to be what right now. I'm just kind of bringing it over. And then a tour package for every taste. There we go. And obviously this has some more information. And then I don't have anything that's going into my right panel right now, but obviously when I start to design my text, I will alleviate that. I'll take care of that. So this is where, you know, you need to, now we've gotten to the point where, all right, like I should probably start to think about my fonts. And I also need to think about, you know, this entire, you know, all of my assignments as a cohesive unit. So what I should probably do when I start to think about font choices is go back to week 2 and my assessment, not my assignment, my assessment, and I should look at my poster and see what I chose for my poster, because at the end in week 4, I'm going to put my poster near my brochure, near my sign. Everything needs to go together. So I wanted to all look like one cohesive marketing campaign for Aqua Excursions. So the easiest way to come up with a cohesive look for all of them and come up with a cohesive, you know, cohesive fonts, everything else, is to go back, just refer back to my poster. So I'm going to copy these 2 text boxes. I'm just going to close this out and paste them over here. And just change the type to black so I can actually see it. There we go. So what font was I using? Perpetua Bold and Perpetua Bold, which, no, I'm going to change that to regular for body copy. And if I wanted a sans serif font, I should probably look to Helvetica, which is extremely similar to my logo font, and that can be a sans serif font. That can be like a third font. So let me change this to Helvetica. And go with Helvetica Black. And either one of these can be a head. Maybe this one's a headline. Maybe this is a sub-headline font, and maybe this is my body copy. You know, I like to kind of think it all over here. Would not have a sub-headline that big, probably 16 point. My body copy will probably be 12 point. And my headline will probably be 24 right now. And I can kind of put it all together. and see how it looks. So it's got a good look to it. So I'm just gonna hold on to that. Those are my ideas. And again, this is where your character styles and your paragraph styles are going to come in. So there's a difference between character styles and paragraph styles, although at first glance, they look like they do the same exact thing. And a paragraph style is going to basically change everything in your entire text box. If you want to target, even certain words or certain lines in one text box, you're going to want to use a character style, because sometimes if you use a paragraph style, it will change the whole text box that you've created. So that can really be a pain. So I'm going to use character styles. I've just had better luck with them. Some people, figure out like the paragraph styles end up working for them however they set up their files, and that's great. But for me, it's like I don't like dealing with the hassle of paragraph styles, so I'll use character styles. But again, I won't take off points. As long as you're using a style sheet, you won't lose points, whether you use the character or the paragraph. You just need to make sure that you have a style sheet, and I'll show you why. So for my headline, I'm going to select this, and I'm going to start off at Helvetica 95 black, 24 point. You might not have the same fonts as me. If you don't have Helvetica on your machine, you can use Arial. Your machine should have Arial. And then any other fonts, again, you can use Adobe Type to find a font that you want to use. Definitely look through there. But I would refer back to the poster fonts that you use, because again, you want things to be cohesive. So with the word headline selected, I am going to add a, right here with the little new, I'm going to add character style. So if I double click, it's just going to call it character style. I'm going to double click on it. And you'll see under the style settings, it says Helvetica New, 95 black, 24 point. I'm going to rename it from character style. I'm going to rename it headline, so I remember that those are my headline. That's my headline style, and I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to do the same thing with subheadline. I'm going to select the whole thing, go to that little new, like the new sheet of paper, and again, it's going to call it character style. Double click, double check it, Perpetua, bold, 16 point. I'm going to call it sub headline. I'll hit OK. And body copy. I'm going to left justify my body copy. Again, new, double click, call it body copy, and it just says Perpetua. It doesn't say a font size. Okay. Make sure I have that. Size 12 points. So I want to go into basic character formats and change that to 12 points. I mean, you can like get really in depth here with your character styles, and then hit OK. And the thing is too, is now, first thing first, I'm going to select all of my text boxes, and I'm going to change them all to body. So I just click on body and see it changes that font. And I don't have to go in. Everything's cohesive. I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm just going to select the two text boxes, click on body, boom, and that takes care of that. Then I can go in and I can start to get like really particular. This is a headline, kayak tour sales and service. I'm going to select it and select headline. Refer back to my doc file. Other headline is tour frequently asked questions as a headline. Whoops. The whole line. And I'm going to use subheadline for the questions here. What should I bring on my adventure? And I might need to change, some of the font sizes. Should I reserve this? Do I need any experience? And rental info. And then about us, it's a headline. Custom adventures is a headline. And then each of the adventures was a sub-headline. At least that's what I decided. Because to me, that makes sense. And then a tour package for every taste is a headline. And know what I'm going to do? Where this is a headline, I feel that the letter T should be capitalized, so I'm going to capitalize that letter T. I'm going to leave the word for not capitalized, so. I'm going to have to go back in. I'm going to have to fix my hyphens as well. But I'll do that after. So guided wildlife tours, it's a sub-headline. Ocean adventure tours is a sub-headline. Dolphin watching, these all sound fun. I want to go to this place. Go. Make sure your text isn't running outside of your text box. If it is, you'll get a little red X there. All right. So I'm going to delete out my my placeholder for my logo. Move this down. And I'm going to place my logo first. So I need to place it, file place, from my assessment from week 2. Randomly enough, that opens that up. And it's my Aquacolor logo color, 2-color Illustrator file, which is what I had saved for my poster. If you remember, I had saved a version of my logo, my 2-color logo for that poster. If I wanted to, what I would probably want to do is I would probably want to use the same logo on all of my printed pieces, just for consistency. You know, so I might not want to go to my 3-color logo for my brochure if I use my 2-color logo on my poster, and then vice versa. If I use my 3-color logo on my poster, I would probably want to use it on my brochure as well because they're both print pieces. So I hope that makes sense. Place that. That box is a little bit big. I'm going to close that up. And I want to keep it within my safe area of my panel. So be aware of your margins. I don't want it running into my gutter over here, and I don't want it running outside of my safe zone. Same with my text. If you'll notice, I kept all of my text within my safe area, not running into my gutters or outside of my safe zones on my right and left-hand side, or the top and the bottom. Can't tell if my swoosh is a little outside. And make sure that you are placing your images proportionally. You can keep it locked up here to constrain them. I would definitely suggest that, or make sure you're holding down that shift key. All right, so I've got my logo. Kayak tours, sales and service. I'm gonna center that. My swatches. And you'll notice that my I don't have my swatches from my logo. So what I can do is I can go into Illustrator, open up my logo. I'm going to actually open up my 3-color logo so I can get all 3 swatches. You know, I'll use that 3rd swatch as a highlight color or something. I'll find a use for it. So I'm going to open up my assignment. I always forget from week to week which one was the assignment, which one was the assessment. So many things. And I want to, I want the CMYK swatches. So I'm going to select, mine were the ones on the bottom. I'm going to select these 3 swatches. And I'm going to just copy them. So edit copy. Go back into InDesign. I'm going to paste them in. And you'll see that they showed up in my swatch panel when I pasted them in from Illustrator. So if I accidentally pasted my Pantone colors in here, they would show up as Pantone swatches, not as CMYK swatches. So make sure that you're grabbing the right ones. And then if you accidentally do copy and paste in your Pantone swatches, you need to double click on the swatch and change it to process and change the color mode to CMYK and then hit OK. So I'm going to, oh, this is in here twice. I'm just going to delete out that second one. Ugh. I'm going to rename them. You can rename your swatches if you just double click. I'm going to rename it Kayak Red. So I know I'm grabbing the right ones. This one will be Kayak Blue and Kayak Yellow. There we go. So maybe I want to make that red for right now. I don't know. This could all change. Let's center this. I think that I should have some pertinent information on the front. And my design definitely needs an image. So I'm going to grab one of those images and delete this out. I already set that up. I'll leave those there just in case. So let me find an image. Go back into week 3, my assignment. And you need to find a good image for the front. If you notice, if you go and you hit place and you hit your space bar, it'll show you a preview, and then you can just use your up and down arrows to go through and select an image. That one's fun. I'm going to use this one. I'm going to use Brochure Image 3 for my front panel. So I want it to bleed. Oops. Try to get right down to those bleed lines. Sometimes you got to zoom in. Make sure you get it right down to that bleed line. Or even just a little bit past is fine. And I'll send it to the back. And just close it up so I can kind of get an idea what it's going to look like now. Visually center these people. There we go. And I like that this fades off at the top, so I can keep my logo up in the haze and the Kayak Tour Sales and Service up in the haze. And then I want to move this information down here, but I'm going to have to deal with the water. So what I think I might do is I think I'm going to draw a box. And again, yours should not look like mine. If I shouldn't have to say this, but if I get a design that looks exactly like mine, you're not going to get full points, especially for creativity, because anybody can follow along and design this exactly how I have designed it. But you guys are graphic designers, or you want to be graphic designers, so you need to, be creative in your own right. So it's one thing if you lay out the text the same way I have, that makes sense because I'm laying out my text in a cohesive way, but you shouldn't have the same exact design as me. And I'm only going to show you the front panel. I'm not going to design the back panel with you because I want to make sure that we get over into the assessment as well. So I just want to let you know that. All right, so I'm going to grab both of these, holding down shift. I'm going to send them both to the back. And just change the opacity on this to maybe like 80%. And visually center that. And I always think that phone numbers and websites seem to be the most important. So make it bold. just a little bit bigger. People should know how to contact you. And be aware of, you know, your letting, be aware of your tracking. I'm going to move this line a little bit closer to my phone number. Again, move this all up. And I want it to stand out, so maybe I'm going to make that red. Go. And I want this side of this image to kind of blend off, so I'm going to grab that gradient feather tool while I have the image selected. And I'll probably do this wrong the first time. I'm going to start at the edge. Nope, exactly. All right, I'm going to start a little bit in from the edge, and I want it to feather out this way. So I had to start here and drag. Kind of just feathers out that way. And maybe I want to do another image behind this whole area. So I'm going to place an image. I already know which one I want to place. I think it's this one. Nope. I'm going to do this one. Brochure image 1. Oh, interesting. I don't know why it's showing up as the third image, but. And starting at the edge. Make sure. All right, that's only 73%. These are nice big images. You guys got some nice big images this time. I'm going to send this whole thing to the back. So this image starts to blend into this one. Obviously, I will have a hard time reading my text over this. So to deal with that, I am going to draw a white box just a little bit off from where my text is on both sides. Put that to white. And I want to center this. I'm going to select both of these and window. Align. Vertical centers. And I'm going to grab both of these together and send it to the back. Arrangement is key. And I'm going to make this white box, we'll try 80%. And the reason why I have it a little bit off is I don't want my text butting right up against that white line. Visually, if I turn off, preview, see how visually that looks much better than if I had my text butting right up against the edges. And if you go to view and go to screen mode and preview, you can kind of see, you can see what it's going to look like as the cut version because it doesn't show you your bleeds. Normal shows you all the way to the bleed. Preview shows you the cut version. There we go. All right, so I need to start thinking about my hyphens that are there. If you have a word that's hyphenated, hold down Shift and then hit Enter, and it won't do a hard return. It'll do a soft return. So, you know, that's definitely important. I am going to center this. I'm going to center all of my headlines. I want to move adventures to the next line. Center. And you'll see, like, I'm not going to deal with the second side, honestly, right now. What should I bring on my kayak adventure? I feel like this should be bulleted. So, where are my bullets? Bullets and numbering. So if you hit the little hamburger right here when you have text selected, I always call it a hamburger. Two pieces of bread with a patty in between. You go to bullets and numbering. Add in bullets. Come on. Bullets. And I need to fix that indent. left. There we go. And I want my left indent to be a little bit more. So you can kind of just finagle with, make sure you have preview on, you can kind of finagle with the alignment in the position. And then I feel like this information needs to stand out too, because this is the kayak rental information. I need to look through all of my text and see what should stand out. Again, looking for those hyphens, kind of bumping them to the next line. And I'm not going to go through that whole write-up or that whole thing for hyphenations that I gave you. You can set a hyphenation rule. If you follow that announcement from last week, you might find that it's a lot easier for you to do that, to set up a hyphenation rule. I'm going to move this to the next line. I'm going to make this info a little bit bigger. Maybe make this, whoops, bold. 1 hour. Oh, okay. All right. I saw your question, then I saw that you said never mind. And maybe I'll even bump this over a little bit. So if I go to, do I have it open? Paragraph. There we go. If you don't have it open, window, where is it? Type in tables, paragraph, and character. You can find them there. I'm going to bump this, just this part over, so the left margin, the left indent. Bump it over to, I want to line up with my bullet points. I gotta and drop a line. I'm gonna drop a rule because remember I'm working on a grid here. Oh, fun. There we go. So I can use my ruler. It's 0.25. All right. Seems about right. And I'm going to bump that down. And you'll notice there's some text that is italicized in the text document. So, you know, go back through the text document, make sure that you have certain things italicized. Like this is italicized. So they probably want that to be italicized. So pick a font that has an italic, a bold, you know, all of the different things that you need. I'm going to center it too. And I'm going to make it a little bit bigger because I want it to stand out. Visually, I think it'll look better like this. And I'm going to add an extra line between these paragraphs just because I have all this space here. And I'm going to do that thing where I was telling you about. I'm going to make a copy of my logo and make it smaller down here for the back panel. Just holding down Option while it's selected will allow you to make a copy. And it's a little bit difficult to see, so I'm going to have to fix that. So what I might do, let me see about making this 90%. There we go. Gotta be aware of that opacity. And again, I will go through, fix all of my hyphens on this one. All right, so let's pretend that I've done both sides and everything's ready to go. And, you know, I'm happy with it. I'm ready to show it to my client. And then my client says it looks good. He's like, you know what, send it to the printer, run with it. So I'm gonna package my file and save my file. I should have probably saved it already, but you know, I was working away showing you guys what to do. So I'm going to save my file by the correct naming convention. So I'm going to copy the naming convention. File, save as, make sure I'm in week 3, assignment, McNamara, and then I'm going to package it. So file, package. Make sure that I don't have any links missing. Make sure nothing is using RGB color spaces. Just go through, make sure no fonts are missing. Links and images, show problems only. Any problems will show up here. Colors and inks, there should only be 4. If there's more, you need to go back in, print settings, hit package. Again, make sure I'm in week 3. It's probably going to bump you back into week 2 because that was the last place you packaged something. Assignment 3, how does it need to be named? It should be named the same exact thing as the InDesign file. Name your package folder that same exact thing. And make sure copy the fonts, copy linked graphics, update graphic links, include fonts and links, include IDML, include PDF. And remember how we made that PDF setting that has the crops and bleed marks last week and we saved it? You need to have that one selected and hit package. Hit OK. And save it and close it. So double check after you've done that. Go back into week 3. Double check your package folder. I've got my IDML, my INDD, my PDF. Let me open my PDF and make sure it shows those crop marks and bleed marks. There they are. All my printer marks are there. And look it over. You know, if something like right now, I think that this section, some of this water right here is a little bit too dark and the red's a little bit hard to see. So I might need to bump up the opacity on that yellow so it looks a little bit better. And maybe I want to extend the banner. I don't know. Like, you know, just look it over. And if you have some changes, if you're not 100% happy with it, really look at it and go back into your InDesign file before you submit it. You know, you always want to double check things before you submit them to your clients. And I'm your client this week. I'm your client every week, you know, at least for this mod. But you want to make sure that it looks ready to go and it's your best work. And clearly side 2 not done by me. So make sure that that's all ready to go. You'll submit it to the same way you submitted your work for week 1. Boom. Awesome. Can't wait to see it. I will grade it and send it back to you, and you will take my comments, you know, to heart going into week 4. And that is our assignment for this week. So we've got about 20 minutes to go over the assessment, which is a lot easier. The assessment for this week's not too bad. It's making a sign. So let's look over the background. Signage is an important part of a campaign. Think about it. What they mean by that is this, we're designing right now the sign that's going to go outside of the kayak excursions building, basically. That's what we're designing. It's a place where your marketing tools have proved successful in bringing a potential client to your actual door. Therefore, it is vitally important for the consumer to be able to connect the dots and find the place they are looking quickly and easily. This is once again why we utilize typography, logos, and colors in a very consistent manner. We never know which 2 components of the campaign a consumer will put together, so they must all match. Of course, someone could come to our business by being attracted to our signage, having never seen any other campaign component. Like the brochure and poster, though part of something larger, signage needs to be able to stand out on its own and have a strong presence in today's busy marketplace. There are many ways to produce signage these days. Some signs are digital in nature, where the visuals and messages change every few minutes. Some signs are neon to attract attention, while others are simply made in carved wood. The location, codes, restrictions of the county, and budget are some of the largest contributors to the shape that a sign takes. When creating signage, the reason that a strong, versatile logo starts in black and white becomes very apparent. How would you go about carving a gradient in wood? That's why I was telling you, make sure that those colors that, you're not doing borders, things like that. Think about how you would carve a border in wood. You wouldn't. How would we shape neon tubes to reflect changes in tone? It's just not possible. So having a strong black and white logo from the start is vitally important. Equally as important is having a 2-color PMS Pantone matching system version of the logo. We must be able to maintain a consistent look and feel while having a variation based on application. Pantone colors are considered to be spot colors. Again, what's a spot color? Spot colors are premixed custom colors. They are not achieved utilizing the CMYK model. No matter what print shop you go to anywhere in the world, the same set of colors are created, so they will be the exact same hue anywhere. That is why the Pantone matching system was created, to achieve consistency. Now here's where it gets interesting. All Pantone colors are spot colors, but not all spot colors are Pantone colors. It's not at all unusual for vendors to have their own set of premixed colors. Vinyl, for example, comes in several standard colors. Each would be considered a spot color, and threads for embroidered logos on shirts and hats come in such standard colors as well. These are also considered spot colors. So when creating artwork, it is important that the graphic designer understand if spot or processed colors are being utilized and that the end result reflects the parameters that are in place. So here's our prompt. For this assessment, you will, oh nice, you've worked with vinyls before? Oh, I'm sure they are a pain. I have actually never worked with vinyls, and I'm okay with that because it seems like it would be a pain. I'm not going to lie. I mean, if I had to, I would. I've also never worked with embroidery because it also seems like it would be a really big pain. But a lot of people get some really good jobs, using vinyls and creating embroidery work. I have a friend who does a lot of freelance work, and she creates a lot of t-shirts that are embroidered. And she said, she's like, oh, it's a little bit different, but once you get the hang of it, it's pretty cool. And I was like, oh, it seems so difficult. So for this assessment, we're going to create a sign for the front of the Aqua Excursions building. The sign will be produced from cut vinyl on plastic and then put over lights so it can easily be seen at night. So since the media is cut vinyl, no gradients or images can be used, and all artwork must be vector art. You can also only use 2 spot colors in the entire design, and remember, black is a color. Oh yeah, having to do new ones each year, that must be a whole thing. So our specifications, our finished sign is going to be 4 feet by 10 feet, but we're going to create an Illustrator file that is scaled down where 1 foot is equal to 1 inch. So we're going to make a 4-inch by 10-inch file. We're not going to make a 4-foot by 10-foot file. You're going to utilize your 2 spot color version of your logo, and you're going to utilize those 2 colors as a sign artwork. You're also going to utilize the Aqua Adventures tagline, Kayak Tour Sales and Service, in the website, which is www.aquaexcursions.com. So you're going to have the logo, Kayak Tour Sales and Service, and then the website on your sign. You want to make sure all of your fonts have been turned to outlines, and you want to also keep a version where you have not turned the fonts to outlines. So you need 2 different versions. You're submitting the outlined version to me and keeping the other version for yourself. Because if I tell you to fix something or something has a typo and you've already turned your fonts to outlines, you can't go back in and correct that. It's no longer type. It's a picture. It's basically an image. So always keep your native files for future revisions. Believe me, you will find a time where you have turned something to outlines and you did not keep the native files, and then you will have to retype everything. I just did that the other day. So learn, I always tell my students, learn from my mistakes. And then proceed to the remaining items for week 3, or you can begin week 4 when you are ready. All right, so let's go into Illustrator. And I'm going to open up my logo that I created in week 2. And I'm going to create a new file. And it is going to be, I'm going to do 10 inches by 4 inches because I want it set up landscape. That's how I want my sign set up. 1 artboard. You can leave it as CMYK color and hit create. So what I need to do is I need to copy and paste my 2-color logo, and I need to copy and paste the Pantone colors along with it. So I am going to, with my black direct selection tool, I'm going to grab, oops, I'm going to ungroup these. I'm going to grab these, I'm going to copy it, I'm going to close this out so not save it, and paste this in. And the reason why I grabbed these 2 color squares is because I need to colorize my logo. So what I'm going to do is with my white arrow, I'm going to select my first letter, and then I'm going to go to select, same, fill color. And then with each of these, see how it's still selected? I'm going to go to my eyedropper tool, click on my eyedropper tool, and click on this blue color square. And then I can just click off. Now when I select that A again, you can see it's no longer the CMYK swatch. Now it's the Pantone swatch. I'm going to do the same thing. Select this, eyedropper tool, and select that one. I don't need to, I mean, it depends on how you set up your logo. But, you know, if you had 2 things that were the yellow, you would have to do the same exact thing. You know, select it, go to select, same, fill color, and it would grab all of those colors. And you'll notice how it didn't select those squares. And the reason why I didn't select those squares when I said select same fill color is the CMYK version is considered a different color by Illustrator than the Pantone color version. They look at them, even though they look exactly the same, they look at them as 2 different colors. Then I'm just going to delete these squares. Get them off the page because I don't need them. So I'm going to I'm not going to design this really. I'm going to just grab it and add the text in so you can come up with your own design. So I need Kayak Tour Sales and Service again. Copy it from the copy it right from the prompt. Paste that in. So hit enter. Whoops. And copy and paste this in. Now, I can't leave these as black text because that would be a 3rd color. So I'm just going to pick a color. With the select, I'm going to use my eyedropper tool. I'm just going to make it blue, I guess, because yellow would be very hard to read. I'll make it a little bit bigger. Obviously, I won't keep it as this font because now I have 2 sans serif fonts. I should probably look back to the fonts that I use again in my poster and in my brochure. Keep things consistent and all that jazz. I'm going to center my logo with my text, which when I grab it and center it, what you will notice is it's going to center it based on where this swoosh ends, not where the word aqua ends. So that doesn't look very balanced. In my mind, I'm going to turn on my rulers. And what I want to do is I'm just going to drop a ruler at each end of my text. And I'm going to visually center the aqua of my logo because it's the biggest word over this text. Turn off my guides and I can, visually that just looks better. You can maybe create a pattern in squares with, you know, your colors. You can, you know, like design it a little bit. Everything needs to be vector. You can't use images, but you can maybe, you know, draw something in the background. I mean, you know, be creative with your logo. Maybe make, you know, a wave. I don't know. You know, do something other than just text. So here is my text version. I haven't turned my fonts to outlines yet. So I am going to, again, save two different versions of this. Needs to be saved as DES 114 Assessment 3, first, last. And you'll notice I have to save it as a PDF. But I'm going to save my text version as an Illustrator file. So I'm going to do File, Save As, navigate over to week 3, Assessment week 3. Copy in that naming convention. I'm going to change it to my name. This is my text version. You can even do like underscore text so you know which one is which. Hit OK, save it. Then select your text with the black arrow tool and go up to Object. Type, Create Outlines. I always use quick keys, so I'm like, wait a minute. The logo is supposed to be Pantone. In this, the logo needs to be Pantone for the sign. Everything, all your colors need to be Pantone in your sign. And there needs to just be 2 Pantone colors that you're using. So that's why you need to, because remember for the assignment, we had to make the logo CMYK. So that's why you need to recolorize it with the Pantone colors for this assessment. So I go Type, Create Outlines, and again, see how it turned that into the same type of text that the logo is, how it's not text, it's now an image. Everything is now an image. So then I'm going to do File, Save As, not File, Save As. Oh, yes. If I'm going to actually bring up, you make a good point. If there was a couple of people that happened to. If I told you during last week's assignment that your logo was in Pantone, you need to change that to CMYK for this week for your brochure, because it's not going to package correctly. You're going to have too many colors. You're going to have those extra pleats that I told you about that the printer will throw out. So make sure that you are fixing that for this week. So after you have turned your, I'm sorry if I'm bouncing around for people, but after you have turned your text outlines, you're going to resave it, not as an Illustrator file, but as a PDF. And you'll be able to see the difference. See how I named my one that had text? I named it as the Illustrator file underscore text. This one is going to just be named with the correct naming convention, .pdf. Hit save, save PDF, Go in, double check your PDFs. Always double check your PDFs. There we go. And you can actually check your colors in your PDF. I need to think for a moment. Color, Ink Manager. If you go to Ink Manager, so right here, all right, find your tools here, start to type in Ink Manager. It will show you that you have Pantone and Pantone. That's how you know that you used your Pantone colors, is they should show up there. And whoops. And you can even like convert all spots to process in Acrobat. Acrobat does a ton now. Like you used to have to go back into your file to do that. You can actually fix it in Acrobat now. And I was actually not aware of that until I showed this right here. But you can double check in Ink Manager that you actually have those 2 Pantone colors in there. I was hoping you could turn off. It doesn't look like you can. You can in InDesign. You can turn that off. So that way, if you were using any CMYK colors, you could turn them off and they would disappear. But it doesn't look like you can do that in Acrobat. But that's how you can double check your PDF to make sure that you're using those Pantones. And you can even double check your PDF to make sure that you don't have any Pantones in it before you submit it. So always double check your files. Close your file. Close it out, go in, submit your work. Again, make sure that you're looking over the rubric. You have one single artboard, you're creative and professional, all your type is outlined, you have no more than 2 spot colors being used, and your file was submitted as a PDF on time. So, you know, 2 pretty big assignments. I would definitely start with your assignment this week. You know, that is, stop and think about it for a second. I was in here working on that assignment for over an hour, and I only got side 1 designed, and I already knew how I was going to design it because I have taught this class 5 or 6 times. And I've done this demo 5 or 6 times. So think of how you need to manage your time this week to do that assignment if you've never done this before, and then also do the assessment and your just discussion questions. So please don't wait until the last minute to work on that trifold this week. You don't want to rush yourself. You know, you guys are going to school for graphic design, and I can't express enough how important the assignments are in this class alone. You are going to walk out of this class with great portfolio pieces that you can show potential employers. So don't blow it. I mean, seriously, like, you know, really take the time. This is what you want to do for a living. These assignments are what you will be doing for a living. You know, you're spending a lot of money on your college degree. Really get the most out of it. And I'm not going to lie, when I went to school, I did not walk away with assignments such as this. I never worked on a trifold brochure until I got to my job. So really make the most of this. You are going to be so much more ahead of the curve if you know how to do these types of projects. So thanks to everybody who was able to make it tonight. I'm really appreciative that you were able to take the time and you stayed for the whole class. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to email me. I will be holding our multi-session tomorrow. So if you run into anything and you wanna pop in, please feel free to do so. And I hope you guys have a great night, and I hope to see you either tomorrow or next week. All right, have a great night, everyone.